Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today we are going to paint a field of poppies in oils, and I am using the Lucas 1862 oils. They're a professional oil paint and I've never used them before, so we'll get to kind of play together. And actually everything I'm using comes from this little sketch box set from Jerry's Autorama, so I'm going to give that a try. Now in my the palette actually came with a kit, but this little painting cup is one I've had for years, and I actually have some like brush cleaner in one of these cups and some linseed oil in the other. I'm going to see how the paint kind of goes on its own, and I'm going to start with a little bit of Cobalt blue. I'll hold it up a little bit so you can see it. I only have one tripod. I might have 3 cameras, but I only have one that I can use when I'm doing this. And I'm going to add a little bit of white to that and see. It feels very, very stiff. So I'm going to see how it goes on the canvas. Actually, it's spreading pretty well, but if I want it to move a little bit more, I'm going to paint this all in one go. So if I was going to do a lot of layers, I would do like a little paint thinner on there mixed in with this paint. But if I want to extend it, because I'm going to paint it all at once, I'd probably actually just use a little linseed oil because I'm not going to be building layers. So when you're building layers, like you're going to work on a painting for a long time, you wouldn't want to use oil. You'd want to use like some sort of thinner for your first layer, and then add oilier layers on top. That's called the fat over lean rule. Nothing you really have to worry about right now unless you're gonna, like, you know, spend a lot of time on a painting and work over layers. Now, skies are typically darker at the top and they get lighter as they go, so that's why I'm concentrating this blue towards the top, and then I'm just adding more white to it as I go down. The brush I'm using here is a sash brush, and generally mural painters use it, but I like it for doing backgrounds because I feel like sometimes a flat brush will soak up too much paint. In this, I feel like I'm keeping the paint right on the edge and I don't get harsh brush strokes. And I'm working on this kind of like X motion, so I'm just kind of going back and forth, back and forth. I probably should have clamped my my canvas down in the easel. Instead I have the mast way up there. Oh well, we'll be fine. See, I'm just adding more white to that as I go and pulling it down the canvas. I don't want to have a ton of paint on here because I'm going to be layering the poppies on top of this, and I don't want to have a bunch of paint that I'm going to have to worry about avoiding. You get your workout too. You really working that paint in there, working your muscles. And here's another tip. I also put like 2 things of white out on my palette because it always seems like I contaminate my white, and that way if I need it later, I'll have a fresh bit of white. So I use up one white first and then I go into the other one. I always need to put more white out, but in the off chance that I guess it right the first time, I'm not going to have a bunch of contaminated white. So I'm going 2/3 of the way down on the canvas because I want to have kind of like the perspective like you're laying on the ground, you're kind of looking up at the sky. So we're gonna have way more sky than ground. And this is a gallery wrapped canvas, meaning the canvas goes all around, so you can actually do the edges at this point, and then you won't have to frame it. You could just put a wire on the back, which I think is really handy. All right, so I do want some clouds in the sky. You can go over it with like actually you could do this brush, but you could go over it with a fan brush if you want to soften out the sky, if that's important to you. I'm going to do clouds on there, so I was picking up the white, just tapping the tips of some clouds in there. Just a few of them in there. I'm not going to go too crazy. I find that it seems like oil paints, especially artist quality oil paints, go a lot further than acrylics. So put out less than you think you'll need, so that way you don't end up wasting it. There, I think that's all I want in the sky. You could do more if you prefer, and get those edges while you're at it. Okay, I'm going to leave my brush dirty, that way I can harmonize the colors from the sky into the colors of my grass. And I've got some Viridian green here, and I typically mix my own greens, but I thought since I have a whole tube of this, it came with a set, I would mix it with some yellow ochre and get kind of a nice earthy, sappy green that way. Oh, I just spilled brush thinner on my stuff. That's why I have to be careful. I should have a palette cam. I have to be careful because I tip it and then the little cups of of liquid. I'll see if I'll soak a little bit of that up there and mix it in my paint. Not a big deal. It's just a little like turpentine type of stuff. And I'm gonna put in my horizon line there, just kind of like a rolling hill. And I'm just gonna block in that color there. Add a little bit of oil to help it flow. Just blocking in. Actually, you could add a little thinner in there. I just don't really want to thin it too much because I want to make sure I have good coverage, because I am doing this all in one setting. All right, now I want this back area to be a little fuzzy, so I think I'm going to switch to a clean brush. I'm just doing that because it might be a little dusty because I haven't used them in a while. And I'm just going to kind of dust and soften that line so it seems a little more distant. And there's going to be foliage and stuff in here. This is just blocking in. I'm just softening up any of those lines. Okay, now I want to put some, you know what? I'm going to grab a little Alizarin Crimson here. I didn't think I was going to use it, but I'm going to grab that. And I'll put a list in the video description of all the colors I used in case you can't really tell from my palette, because I noticed I think I forgot to mention what they were. So you can go in and you can see them and, you know, set up your palette before you begin painting. Oh, I can't get the cap on this thing while I'm filming. There we go. Okay, where'd my brushes? Where'd my other brushes go? Here they are. So I'm using a reference photo from Paint My Photo. I'm not going to follow it exactly, but I did like little purple flowers that they had in the foreground. So I'm doing Alizarin Crimson, a Cobalt blue, and adding a little bit of that. I don't have very much white left on my palette, but I am going to put some in there. And they're just like kind of just throwing some in. Now you will pick up the green underneath, so you'll want to wipe your brush off either on a rag or on a clean spot on your palette. And just kind of, just try not, it's hard not to like line things up like little soldiers. I don't even know what these are. They just look like little, they don't really look like lupins. I'm not sure what they are exactly. They're just kind of these like nondescript little purpley flowers in there. Now I also want to throw in some, maybe like some poppies that are further away. So I'm just going to grab a little bit of that deep vermilion and just flick a few. Using different sides of my brush, turning it as I go so I don't end up with everything looking the same. I want to make sure everything looks a little bit different. And then I want to put in a few kind of like grassy shapes. And I think I'm just going to keep this brush, just wipe off the excess. And grab in that vermilion again and the yellow ochre. Maybe add a little bit of that brighter yellow, which is permanent yellow light. It's kind of like a cad yellow light. And just kind of, it's very hard to see. I'm just kind of throwing in on the chisel edge some textures, some like grassy textures, just flicking. There. Really, really fun, easy technique this is. Okay, so now I want to go on to the main poppies. I'm going to do 3 poppies, and there are 3 poppies in the reference photo I'm using, except I'm spreading mine out a little bit more, so it's a little bit more like I don't know, I don't really want to call it cliche, but it's definitely purposeful and has intent to it, I guess is a better word. And I think I'm gonna move to like a filbert or a round for that. I have all my short-handled oil brushes in a little vase over there I'm just reaching for. I'm gonna sketch on the basic shapes first, and I'm gonna do that in my Vermilion here, which is more of like an orangey red. You see I'm grabbing it right up, and I'm just doing it on a small round hog brush, and I'm twisting it in the paint. I did put you could put a little bit of thinner, a little bit of oil in there, something to help it flow. And I'm just going to kind of sketch in, and I'm going to sketch them smaller than how I really want them, because I don't want to have, I want to make sure that I'm not going to have any sketchy lines. So, you know, once I paint it, I don't want to see my kind of like my pencil marks. You know when you do like you're sketching and you watercolor over it and then you see your pencil marks? Well, I don't want to see my pencil marks. I want to go slightly smaller than that. So I'm just kind of getting a basic shape here. And they're not going to be perfectly balanced. I might have this one even coming maybe up here. That might be a little, not unsettling, well maybe a little unsettling, but I think a little bit interesting. So I'm just kind of getting that shape up there. And I might make this one a little bit larger, but I can always do that when I go to paint it in. Now I think I'm going to grab a paper towel and wipe out some of the blue paint that's behind there so I don't have to worry about that contaminating. So let me do that right now. I'm so fancy. I got my paper towels right over there. Yeah, vintage Lindsay, the vintage Lindsay, one camera, no editing. Don't you love it? Okay, so I'm just doing the wrapping around my finger and wiping off the extra there. I get to a fresh spot in my paper towel. And you don't have to be perfect. We just want the majority of that white and blue wiped out of there. And just roll to a fresh spot, wipe it out. It's kind of pretty, actually. Maybe painting with paper towels would be like a cool new trend. Wipe it out over here. Whoa. Yeah, definitely next time I'm clamping this painting down. Ah well. It's fine. There we go. Okay. All right, now I think I'll grab one of these clean flat brushes that came in my Lucas kit here. And I'm just gonna set that aside. Scooch up a little bit more. I'm kind of off to the side of this, and it's kind of weird to try to paint like that. Let me turn. There we go. And I'm gonna grab a little bit of that yellow and grab it with a little bit of that red. So this is that permanent yellow light, which is like a cad yellow light. Not quite as cool as a lemon yellow. And this is gonna go at the top edge of my poppy here. And I can see right off that I need more yellow because the that red is super strong. And then I've got another edge down here I want to be really light. So I'm just gonna, since I have plenty of red on my brush, I'm just gonna go pick up the yellow on its own and pull that down. There we go. And I'm going to get the lighter areas on these as well. So I've got a nice light lit up side right there. I've got, this one's kind of turning away from us, so we've got this nice lit up sunny yellow spot right there. And then over here we're going to have some light on the edges there and some light on the edges here. And this may seem a little abstract, but hopefully as we proceed it'll become a little clearer. Okay, now I'm going to go back in with my red. I'm just picking it up on that same brush, it's dirty, and I'm going to go above that petal there. Hopefully my arm's not in the way. I think you can see all right. I'm going to drag that up into those back petals. And then I'm going to add a little bit of this on the bottom and twist and lift my brush to kind of divide some of those petals up. Poppies are probably my most requested flower to paint, and I actually enjoy painting them a lot. And then I was looking at my channel one day and I had like 4 or 5 different poppy painting tutorials. I don't think I have any in oils though, so hopefully hopefully you guys won't be bored with this one. Do a little dark down there on that flower. And over here we've got this leaf petal. It's called a leaf petal, in case you didn't know that. Could be a botanist. Won't be a very good one though. I just want to paint the flowers all day. Paint non-realistic depictions of the flower. Yeah, I would be a lousy botanist. Get that petal in there. And I just want to get a little bit crisper of an edge there. Okay, and I'm going to just grab a clean brush real quick and soften that line right there between the yellow and the red. Okay, so we're softening that line. I'm just going to wipe my brush off on the paper towel real quick. Soften that edge right in there. Bring a little of that color over there. And then we're going to move over to the other flower there. Sometimes I like to, if I'm sitting down at my easel, I'll rest my foot on the bar. It's at the bottom of the easel. It's really comfy. In case you, I don't know why you want to know that. Never mind. And then I'm just going to put in these petals here. So this is a front petal. It's all highlighted. So I'm kind of painting behind that light petal there. Grab a little bit of shadow under there. So it's all very very rough when we start off, but look, we're 15 minutes into this painting and look how far we've come. That's pretty great, I think. You know, that's not bad at all. And then I want to kind of be looking into this flower. So I want this kind of darker, and I'm going to want a lighter petal right there. So I'm going to go in with, let's grab this other brush because it's a little bit less red, and grab some more yellow. Just grab the yellow on its own because we can muddy it up really easy. And we'll just drag that, and we'll bring it down into that red actually. Let's drag a little of that red off from the edge there. And there we're getting our basic flower shape in here. I want that petal kind of dripping down a little bit. There we go. All right, now let's get some stems in there while we're at it. And I'm going to go back to that flat green brush that I had. And I'm going to do that yellow ochre and green. So I'm just loading up my brush and some yellow ochre and some green. Getting both sides of it. I'm going to be using the chisel edge. A lot of control that way. And these have really skinny, little skinny stems. So just going to drag that down like that. And you know what? I'm going to reload, because I want to make sure that I don't have a broken line and I don't have to press it. If I press it to put more paint down, I might fatten out the line, and I don't want that. So do it once, do it right. It's so much better than doing it wrong and then going back in and trying to fix it. So you're going to have a lot more control if you do this. I'm going to pull that down. And notice how I'm holding the brush. I have this brush at a 90-degree angle from with my canvas. So that again gives me tons of control. And let me apologize, I keep looking at the viewfinder to see if everything's in frame, and I know that disconcerts some of you guys, and you find it's like, why are you looking over my shoulder, Lindsay? I'm sorry, making videos is hard, and sometimes I look at the viewfinder instead of the lens. I'm human, okay? So please don't mention it in the comments. Hurts my feelings. Hurts my feelings. I try so hard. I try hard to bring you videos. Oh well. And I think this one I'm gonna swoop like that. I like this because it makes me feel like they're kind of moving and grooving. They're swaying to the music. They're chilling out. They're hanging out. They've had a couple glasses of wine. I don't know. Our poppies are very social. They're having a good time. Okay, so we've got a basic composition here now. That's kind of cool, right? Took us 20 minutes. We got a composition. I think that's awesome. So now we're going to go in and refine our picture. If you're just starting out in oil painting, you might not have a lot of brushes, and you can't wash your brushes with soap and water and then use them right again on your paper. You can't, on your canvas, because you can't reintroduce water into your oil paint, so you'll have a mess. So what I do is I have a mason jar that I have a lid for. I put a piece of aluminum screening in here, and then I put odorless mineral spirits in here. That's stuff you get at the hardware store. And that way I can kind of wipe my brushes against the screening. It'll knock off the loose paint. All of the loose paint, all of that sediment will fall to the bottom. You can kind of see it there. And that way when I go to clean my brush, all that's on the bottom, the screen's above it. So I can clean my brushes without having to dump out my oil, my thinner all the time, so it's really economical. And then I can go right back in. I can wipe this on my towel and go back in and paint. When you wash it with soap and water, you have to let it completely dry before you can paint again. Now after I'm done painting for the day, I will go wash it with like some brush cleaner and some water to get it super, super clean. And then let them dry before I use them again. But if you only have a few brushes, you know, use your thinner while you're painting and then go and wash them when you're all done for the day, because you won't be able to use your brushes again until they fully dry out. So quick tip for you there if you are new to painting. So what I want to do now is actually put the little poppy buds in, put a few of them in around here. And I've cleaned my brushes, so I'm just going to go in with this small round one. And I've also put a few replenish my colors a little bit where I need to. And I'm going to go in with that Viridian and yellow ochre. And I'm going to see how that looks. I might need to add a little bit of white to it to kind of dull it down, because the poppies are, they are a little bit lighter in color. But I'm going to start by putting in the little poppy heads in there, just a few of them. You don't need a ton. I'm just trying to figure out where I feel like the painting could use a little something else, maybe. It helps with a rhythm. This painting's gonna have a good rhythm, I think. So I think I'll do 5, because I think things look much better when you have an odd number. I always like these poppy heads. They remind me of like, I don't know, little kids or little puppies or something looking around, you know, what's going on? Being nosy, being curious. There we go. Now I'm going to go back. No, let me show you. Actually, I'll show you this first. I'm going to go back to my flat to do the stems, but I thought I would just show you. It's actually much easier to get a stem with a larger flat brush than a smaller round brush, because you tend to want to, it doesn't seem to hold as much oil paint. You tend to want to push when you're using a round brush, and then you get the thicker line. But when you go in with a flat brush, it seems so much easier just to keep that nice crisp line. So I'm going to do that with my colors. I'm going to do, although if you have to do like a turn like that, it can be quite difficult with a flat. So I'd say if you have to turn like this one, I'm going to have this one kind of swooping. That one's probably easy to do with a round brush. And when you're using it, you want to get your color, but then twirl your brush so you end up with a little kind of little pool of it on top, and then you can pull it kind of like that. Because see, my bristles spread apart there when I went to turn. So just, you know, just to give you both of those techniques. You might not have both brushes, you may have to pick or choose. That just gives you another option. You can figure out what's going to work best for you. I think that one I'm going to have just like that. And this one I think I might just pull over straight, just because I don't want to have all my my poppies going the same way. Now to get the fluff on my poppies, I'm gonna just grab some, oh, I need more white. Again, the colors I'm using are the Lucas 1862 oils, and there's a list in the video description. And I find it's a little more economical to kind of squeeze out paint as you need it. There's my white right there. I've squeezed it out twice. Ha! Rather than like squeeze out a ton, you know, that way you're not gonna, you know, you'll use what you need. I usually put it a little bit more just because I try not to waste time when I'm filming. I try to like be very mindful of your time watching this, so so I usually end up putting out more to begin with. So what I'm doing is I'm just tapping, and that's gonna give me that fuzzy appearance, because poppies kind of have that, they have fuzzy stems. I don't think you would see the fluffy stems so much, but you would definitely see the fuzz on the buds. I'm just going to tap that on. That might have been a little heavy-handed. Sorry, if you get too much on, just use it on another one. See how I just picked it up and I just brought it over there? That was a lot. I'll have to go back in with some green on that one. You actually tap on the, you could tap a little bit on the stems. I don't know. I don't think I like that. I think it's better just to keep it on the, whoa. Holy moly, I'm heavy-handed on this poor guy. Maybe we'll just make this a bigger bud. You know what I'm going to do here? I'm going to be tricky. I'm going to actually put some red right in there. I'm going to give it like it's starting to open because I've made it kind of big. So let me just wipe some of that out first. Okay. Yeah, we'll just make that, we'll just pretend that's a poppy that's about to burst open and we'll just... Ah! My goodness, I know it's tempting fate wearing a sweater doing this instead of my smock. But actually, it didn't even get any on me. Whew! I'm lucky today. Better go buy that lotto ticket. And we'll give it a little... Reminds me of Little Shop of Horrors. Feed me, Seymour! Doesn't it? They're just kind of like, rah. Oh, yeah. I need to get out more. I'm talking to my poppies. Talking to my poppies. All right. That's probably a metaphor. All right. Let me grab some Alizarin Crimson, because that's a deeper red. And I'm going to see what the shadows would look like with crimson on this. And... oh, that's kind of nice. I was going to add some Cobalt to it, because I knew that would give me kind of a black. Because Cobalt is blue, and this Viridian, this Vermilion's very orangey red, and I know they would cancel each other out. But I kind of like how lively that crimson is, and plus, I use the crimson elsewhere to make that purple, so I want to reintroduce it into my picture. So it's a very good idea to do that. Now I want to kind of reshape the bottom there, because that was looking a little too flat. I can always go back in with a little Cobalt after if I feel like I want a little more definition. A little bit up there. Now, I don't know if you can tell on the camera, but the paint is looking a little streaky because I'm using really stiff brushes. Okay? Don't worry about that because this is oils. These are going to stay wet while you're painting. You know, they might be a little tacky tomorrow, but they'll probably still be very wet tomorrow. You've got time with oils. So I can lay these colors down, and this is really why I prefer oils over acrylics. I can lay these colors down, and then I can go in with a very soft synthetic brush, and I can just kind of like caress over them with a soft brush, and it's going to smooth out any of those brush strokes. Like it's almost like they didn't exist. So that's such a benefit to oils. Now these are typical oil paints. You can get water-soluble oil paints, and you have many of the same benefits, except you could actually rinse your brush in water, dry it off, and paint with it right then. You wouldn't have to wait, and then you don't have to deal with solvents or the odors. So if you really love the look of oil paints, and you would, you want to try them, but the solvents are putting you off, try the water mixable oils. There's so many companies make them now. They're really good. I haven't had any that are bad actually, and I've used quite a few different brands. So give them a try. You don't have anything to lose. All right, as you can probably tell, I'm in my basement and the furnace just kicked on, so I am going to go have a cup of tea and come back and finish this painting up with you in a minute. Okay, the furnace stopped just a couple minutes later, so yay, we're back. I did actually add a few shadows in there, but then I wanted to go over with like a softer brush and show you what I meant. So this is a fairly soft synthetic brush. It's a filbert. It's curved at the top of it, so it's like a flat brush, but it's rounded at the top, so it really lets you put paint down without, or blend paint without getting brush strokes. So what I'm going to do is just gently kind of stroke over this paint, and it's going to just smooth the colors together, kind of like a teeny tiny little fan brush. So what I'm going to do is just kind of hit over the areas that that have the yellow, more of the yellow on them first. And I am going to need a little bit more work over here, but I do want to kind of get those get the shape of the petals in, because I don't feel like I have the veining happening here. So I'm just gonna kind of work with this a little bit, because like I said, these are oils, so you can keep on working with them for a long time. They're not gonna go dry on you overnight. You know, they're not gonna dry on you while you're painting. This is a alla prima, or all at once, so I am doing this all in one sitting. So I can definitely afford the time to just go in and kind of play with this. Make sure I'm marrying my colors together the way I want them to. And just gently blend. Now I do need more highlights on this. I feel like I have good shadows. I might need to go in and add more shadows. Where I'm sitting, I'm getting a lot, blah, 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 blah. I'm getting a lot of glare where I'm sitting. So, so it's kind of tough for me to tell. But I'm going to go in with a little bit better brush for detail. This is a Royal Magnical Fusion. I really like these for oils. You just have to make sure you clean them well when you're done with them. And I'm going to go in, I'm going to do yellow. I'm actually going to add a little bit of white to that. Now I have to be really careful that I don't blend that white into the red, or I might get kind of like a pinky peach, and I really want this to be vibrant. So I'm just going to be kind of careful when I put that down, that I'm staying kind of on the edge of my, my lighter areas of my petal. But see, just like something like that, even just laying down a little bit of light opaque color can really make a big difference in your artwork. And if you see me glancing over to the edge, I actually have my computer with that reference photo that I mentioned that I'm linking down below, so you can kind of open that up on your computer and see what I'm looking at. Now you're going to pick up a lot of the underlying color when you're doing this, because like I said, the paint's going to stay wet for a long time. So I recommend that you have a paper towel handy that you can, or a rag. I like to use paper towels with oil paints. And then I'll just kind of wipe off the excess and then go load back in with my white and yellow. It's funny, I like to use paper towels, but I don't like, I prefer to use a wooden palette, and then I just scrape it off when I'm done, wipe it off with a little bit of brush cleaner, and as your palette ages, it gets that nice gray sheen, the gray color to it, and then your colors look really, really true on a gray palette. So that's what, so I don't use disposable palette paper typically when I'm oil painting, unless maybe I'm painting out in the field, and then I might, just because it's less to clean up. And look how I'm resting my hand right on the edge of my easel. That helps me keep a steadier hand while I'm painting. And again, I'm using the white and the yellow. I'm bringing up, I'm doing those highlight areas. You can tap it on if you feel like you're having a hard time brushing it on because it's kicking up too much of the paint underneath. Just kind of tap it on. You can get that little ridge of glow from the sun on your petals. And I mean, you could spend a lot of time on this painting making it realistic, and that is absolutely fine. And if you do that, you know what? Share a photo with me. I love to see your work. You'd share it with me on Facebook. We have the Frugal Crafter page on Facebook. Really great community. A really great place to hang out with your fellow painters and make friends. No drama. It's great. Where else can you say that? No drama. It's on Facebook and there's no drama. Isn't that awesome? Really great group of people. Now I want to kind of make sure I have a little bit of a ruffly edge there. So I'm using the tip of my brush just to kind of wiggle that and get a little bit of ruffle there. There. I like that. If you want it smoother, leave it smooth. Leave it smoother. It's up to you. I'm just gonna wipe my brush off. My rag is on my little table behind me, and I feel like I need to do a little bit more there. So again, I'm loading up my brush with it yellow and white because I've got enough red there. That red is not gonna have any problem asserting itself on this painting. So I just have to make sure I get enough of that light in there. Alright, I'm just sorry if my head's in the way. I had to move away from the glare. In fact, I'm just going to turn it a little bit so I can see it a little bit better. Okay, I feel like this under here needs a little more definition. So I'm just actually going to clean my brush there. I have a little bit of cleaner in my little cup there. And since I'm only using small amounts, I'm just going to stick with the same brush that I've been using. And when you're using a synthetic brush, I think it's really important to keep the paint on the tips. You don't want the paint down in the ferrule. You don't want to clog those bristles with paint. You really want to keep it nice. So I'm doing Alizarin Crimson plus a little of the red that I've been using, plus a little Cobalt blue, and that's going to give me a nice, it's going to look quite black actually, but it's going to give me a nice cool shadow color. And I'm going to redefine this area down here. There we go. And since I'm going on top of layers, I'm not depositing too much, so I really don't think you can get into too much trouble doing this. But please don't use black paint when you're doing this. You're going to have a much nicer look if you mix the colors you've already been using to get your black. I don't have anything against black paint. Somebody asked me, what do you have against black paint? I don't have anything against it. I just think that use it with intent. If you're going to use black paint so that you get like kind of a really bold, discordant or cartoony look, then go ahead and use black paint. But if you're trying to get something a little more natural looking, you're going to have a much easier time if you use a color that is harmonious to what you've already been using. So I'm not hating on black paint. It's just that it's often not going to give you the result that you want. So I'm just putting in shadows with this dark purpley mixture. And I want a nice crisp one down here. I'm just going to feather that up. And we'll do a little bit over there. Maybe a little bit inside. Now I can't see the insides of any of these flowers, because and poppies usually have a nice like dark center, but I can't see them, so I'm not going to put them in. But a shadow in there is just fine. If you want to just get that shadow in there and suggest that it's got a dark center, that's fine. That's fine. Totally fine. Just try to keep balance in your work, and if you're going to do something to one area in your flower, see if you can find another place where it also works so that you have harmony. Now for the last touch, I'm just going to get a little fresh white on my palette, and I'm going to do the sprinkles on the cupcakes basically. You know how I talk about, you put a little white highlight at the end just to give you, a little something something. So that's what I'm doing here. I just put a tiny little bit out. That way I'm not tempted to go crazy on the white, and I'm just taking a small, another small filbert, and I'm going to pick up that white pure because I have so much color there already. I'm just loading it up on the tip of the brush, and I want to make sure I do have plenty on that tip though. And then I'm just going to go and highlight. You can pull some of the ridges down. You'll have to reload quite frequently. You're just like almost catching these little slices of sunshine. Okay? A little slice of sunshine here and there. If you have a beautiful angle or line you want to accentuate, do that. Wipe off the extra paint. You're going to pick up a lot from underneath. So expect to have to wipe your brush frequently. This one has some really pretty edges. Wipe off extra color that isn't white. And that's just about gonna do it. And of course you can spend more time on this. Have fun, it's your painting. You shouldn't just rush through it. Spend as much time as you want to on your work. Get it how you like it. I'm not saying fuss with it. A lot of times it's nice to kind of get it to a certain point, go take a break, go have a cup of tea, come back to it and take a look and see what you think it really needs at that point. Maybe you want to dab in some more flowers in the foreground. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I've got some more green here. Do some green and yellow ochre and throw in some more grasses down here in the front. Build that texture. That's fine. Sometimes it helps just to skip around to another part of the painting so that you can give your eyes a break. I'll put a in a couple days when I do the blog post for this painting, I'll put a nice still shot of this. So if you want to look at this while you're following along with the video, and then I'll link to the reference photo, and of course it's in the video description here, but I'll link to it on my blog post too, so you can kind of see everything, and then kind of decide how you want to do it. I didn't like all that white in there, so I'm actually gonna do something about that. Make all your adjustments that you want to make, and that's pretty much it. Now, as far as signing my name, a lot of times with oils, I will wait till the next day to sign my name and use add a little linseed oil to a dark color. One of the colors I've already used, like here, it might be that mix, that purpley mix, and then I just sign it with a small fine brush, because I have a really hard time signing my names in oils. I have terrible handwriting anyway, and it's even worse. It's very apparent when you see it here. But that's pretty much all there is to it. You can make your clouds a little puffier and brighter if you want to, but I'm really happy with the way this came out, and I think it's cheerful, and I think this would be fun to hang in a kitchen or any other place you feel like you just need a little bit of sunshine. If you like this video, I would appreciate a thumbs up and share it with your crafty friends. And until next time, happy crafting!